What up, roomies? For a long time, anything related to psychedelics was seen as something dangerous, something people stayed away from. But now you're seeing a shift. Doctors, entrepreneurs, even CEOs are starting to explore these experiences not for the escape, but for healing, clarity, and understanding something deeper about life. Today's guest is someone who's made the transition firsthand from being a lawyer to becoming the CEO of a company, to becoming a CEO in a company. Sorry about this. To becoming a CEO of a company in the plant medicine space. While going on his own journey exploring consciousness, psychedelics, and what it all means, he's even worked alongside voices from ancient aliens to explore the connections between human consciousness and something beyond us. So tonight we're going there. David, welcome to Neighbors, and thank you for being on, bro.
Thanks so much for having me again. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Hey, man, we were already getting in the motion of everything, so let's just jump right into it. I know that I had previously stated that I've been seeing these clips online about people being rejected from like the DMT realm or like that higher level of consciousness because they're abusing it. And you said that DMT and ayahuasca are similar but different.
Yeah,
So,
but yeah, be very clear. So, okay, DMT is a compound,
yeah,
dimethyltryptamine.
yeah,
We make it in our bodies. People need to know this because it's more than just like, oh, people are tripping out on these psychedelics. We make this one endogenously.
yeah,
It's contained in different organs in very small amounts, and it's metabolized very quickly. So it's very hard to do certain types of experiments on it. Although, like now they're giving DMT intravenously for like keeping people under in massive doses for 45 minutes. And they're doing clinical trials on this. We're like kind of going through the results of it. They're very promising, interesting. So that's the compound itself, and we make it. So now, when you synthesize that, like in a vape pen or like a crystalline powder, you're taking straight DMT. DMT in ayahuasca is contained in the plant. Ayahuasca works because the DMT you cannot take orally, because it won't have any effect. But when mixed with a vine of another Amazonian plant, traditionally, this combination brew allows the DMT to have an oral effect. We don't have to go into any further than that, but that now interesting how who told the Amazonians thousands of years ago, you've got to combine of all the plants in the jungle, you've got to combine this one because this one has the DMT and this vine so that the DMT can work and have this effect. So that's an interesting question. How did they know? Where did they learn that from? It's ancient wisdom. But here's the important part. Ayahuasca is very spiritual.
yeah.
Like ayahuasca is not just like taking the compound. It's like, you can take a THC vape today and you smoke a weed vape, but the plant is something different, right? Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And in
Yes.
ayahuasca, there is a mother ayahuasca. People refer to her as the grandmother, abuela, people call her some different things. I have not myself encountered her like as an entity in ayahuasca, but I'm very keenly aware that it's very feminine.
True. I've heard about that.
It's a very feminine, motherly experience. But anyway, so like that's why people need to be educated about this and learn about this. Taking DMT on its own is not like the combination ayahuasca. First of all, if you smoke DMT, it's like a 10-minute experience.
Is that 10 minutes experience like as intense as like when you do ayahuasca?
I would say in some ways even more intense. It's like basically experiencing the peak effect, like all compressed into 10 minutes.
Oh shit.
Whereas like ayahuasca is over many hours.
Yeah.
And in those times, there's like kind of ebbs and flows, and like you'll go to the bathroom. A lot of stuff is going on in over 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you're at when the height of the DMT experience, you're not walking anywhere. You're not going
No, I
anywhere.
believe that.
You don't
'Cause-
even know that you're where you're at. You're not in your body for 10 minutes
okay, okay.
with the appropriate dose, right?
Oh, with the appropriate dose.
So ayahuasca for sure has those kind of moments, but not for 8 hours straight. Nothing like that.
Okay, so it's like, so talk to me about like when you do ayahuasca and you meet mother ayahuasca or abuela, right? Is it like you're being transported to like her realm, or are you just like blending like this realm and that realm together?
Okay, so I'll answer it like this because, as I said, I have never met her,
Yeah.
um, but I have encountered other entities, other beings, some of them like human type entities, and others that are not human. I mean, they are kind of indescribable. I mean, but and sometimes they're more energetic. Like they're you're hanging out with people, but it's not like it's a physical experience that you would describe here. Um, like I've seen Adolf Hitler.
Oh shit.
And so I'm Jewish. I don't have family that I'm not a direct descendant of anyone from the Holocaust. But
Yeah.
I had learned from my the shaman lady that conducted my ceremony that Jewish people see Hitler a lot in ayahuasca. So here's a plant that comes out of the Amazon, but yet like Jews see that. And she said also Germans. So there's this like mm, it's like an intergenerational connection that we all have to each other. Um, and I don't even pretend to understand the meaning of a lot of this.
Uh,
But but the experience is so spiritual that that like if you've never had a psychedelic experience before, that you are connected to something that is much bigger than you ever understood.
true.
And you won't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. But when you are in the experience, you recognize it and you recognize that you come from this, that you yourself you are ancient. And it's very freaky
Free.
when you first start to go through it. But you are in another you're in another space. Let's just say that. Like the space that we're in, everyday life that we walk around in, is not real.
I get you on that.
It's real that we're having this experience, but it's our collective agreement that we're sitting here and you're in your house and I'm on a computer and all the stuff, physical stuff around you. But like the leading science that's not just like out there woo-woo stuff is starting to zero in on the fact that reality is something that we create.
True.
Total creation of our minds.
No, it's true.
And so when we go out under the influence of like DMT, are you seeing something that's not real, or is it lifting the veil to something that is significantly more real than what we experience?
No, I
That
get that.
right? Is it maybe we live in the dream and that allows us a temporary wake from the dream itself back to the actual reality? Just consider that.
No, and it's true because even it's been said for centuries that the perception of reality is your reality. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like, and your mind dictates what your reality is. So it makes sense that when you take certain psychedelics like DMT or even psilocybin, you'll kind of have a different perception of reality because it's kind of like, I don't want to say accelerating, but it's kind of like unmasking a lot of the things that we all came as a collective to agree upon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so yeah, man, like even when I had my experience on mushrooms, like it was crazy because it was like what I experienced was like, and I could only really explain it like this. It felt like I saw the stacking of dimensions, and it was crazy because it was like sound was now visible, and like time wasn't linear. Because when I would stare at somebody, I would see like their life progression. Like I would see them as a fetus to like death, and I'll be like, "Wow, this is trippy." But I also took a very big dose.
Wow.
Roomies don't be taking as big of a dose I did.
That's a big dose.
Yeah, it was about a 3.5 grams of like
Okay.
a really strong strain.
Right. So like because that's the other thing people like getting back into it because mushrooms now like they're all over the place.
Yeah,
People are kind of using them, kind of party with the mushrooms. But that like it's kind of like remember like when before like weed was legal, you'd be like you'd go to your guy and you'd be like, give me like a half an ounce, give me an ounce, whatever. But it wasn't like what strain and indica, right? It was just like, what do you have, right?
yeah. It's
That's all
like
you were getting.
you
And
got
you
some
knew it was like
Reggie.
this is the good stuff. Like this stuff is like it's good, but not as good. Okay, it's a little cheaper, but that's it. So, but like mushrooms now, there's so many strains. So
Yeah,
like people kind of base like the old Terrence McKenna, like hero gram, 5 gram is the hero dose, which is a big dose of the conventional golden teacher mushrooms that like predominated at that time. That's still a big dose. But these penis envy mushrooms and some of these other strains, they're like
yo,
you could take the two and a half, and that's like 5 grams. So 3.5, like 7 grams. Like you're out there. That's it.
yeah,
You don't need more than that. You're gone.
yeah. That's exactly what strain I
Yeah.
took. It was penis of me. That shit
Yeah. Oh yeah.
had me in a
Yeah.
had me in another dimension. I can
Yeah.
honestly say that.
Uh, and so like so from this experience, it's very hard to describe what it is.
Yeah,
But you're left like no matter what your background is, and you could have been brought up as a religious person, it doesn't matter. Like everyone sort of has these same experiences, and so there's like a realization that at some deeper level we're all connected to each other.
yeah.
And that's the thing that like the government doesn't really have any interest in us really knowing, because every it's preferable if we're fighting.
Yeah, it's profitable.
It's profitable. You keep people occupied with other stuff while you're really doing your business over here, and like they're fighting over all kinds of garbage and
That
not realizing that we're connected. Like we are directly connected to each other. We have to take care of each other, and I think like in religious terms that may even be the return of Christ, the Christ consciousness, as some people refer to it, is that when we create the conditions of what we perceive as heaven right here for each other on earth, watch what happens.
and
And
this
that may not be a religious thing. Obviously, some people would see that in religious context, but it is what it is. Like, so you could not be religious and see that this is something that's really big that we can do for ourselves.
No, and you're absolutely correct because of the fact that, you know, once people realize that we're all connected, we all come from the same place. You know, it doesn't matter religion, doesn't matter race, it doesn't matter gender, sexual orientation, nothing of that really matters. That's all preference, you know, except for like sex and all that. You're born like that. But other than that, everything else is preference. You know what I mean? We're still part of this one collective consciousness that's all experiencing each other at the same time. And once we're able to, you know, treat each other with respect, we definitely could create a heaven on earth. I'm not saying there's going to be a utopia. I'm not saying everybody's going to be singing kumbaya, but it'll be a lot better than where we at now.
I don't think there are in these advanced in these dimensions that we go where there are clearly entities that are clearly more intelligent than us,
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely.
Okay, there doesn't seem to be any violence. Like violence seems to be something that's very peculiar to us. There is like in the animal kingdom, of course, there's a lot of attacks, right? But that's like predatory. That's natural. Like
Yeah,
our violence is unnecessary. Is not really natural.
it's not at all. And like you were saying, nature, that's that's predator versus prey. You know, that's part of the food chain, unfortunately. But we're choosing to like destroy each other with our own inventions. It's not like I'm like, okay, cool, I need to go, destroy this tribe because I need to eat. It's not like that. It's just I'm gonna go destroy the tribe because I'm gonna take your resources, and that's the end of that. Or you're serving a different god than I am, or you guys believe in this, but we don't believe in that. So when people do like psychedelics and they kind of like get the hint of that, everyone's connected, you kind of see the decline of that whole the whole hatred thing, and then you also see a decline of like violence as well.
There's no coincidence that the Controlled Substances Act to ban psychedelics was done in the Nixon administration during the height of what? The Vietnam War, where
Yeah.
people were on acid and everything else and mushrooms. And they were like, we don't want to go die over there and kill people that are not threatening us right now. Whatever the politics are, the effect was people did not want to go fight, and they didn't see the point in it, and they didn't like or accept the control mechanism of the government, and due in large part to that, and the fact that they have known for a very long time that there is an alien connection, that there is the relationship between consciousness, these other entities that we're seeing, the UFO UAP phenomenon, and that psychedelics are somewhat of a key into an introduction to a relationship with some of those entities. I've encountered some of them, and obviously people are reporting this. There's a connection. We don't know exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, because like I said, like on my last trip, I encountered something very similar. I don't know if it was me just tripping or I actually encountered entities, but what I was seeing was like, all right. So I was with my best friend and my cousin at the time, and we were there just hanging out, whatever. But when at the towards the height of it all, I would see like like different entities surrounding a different person, and I associated with that on like more of a spiritual level, like, oh, these are this person's guardians,
Okay.
versus it being like a hyperdimensional being, even though they were hyperdimensional beings. But I would say these are like the energies that were kind of surrounding the person.
I think you are dead on in that, like, when you have a feeling that these were like caring, loving,
Yeah,
guiding and energies, then that's what it is. Because at that level, you do know, even though you're like rational mind here, you like, how would you know that, right? But when you're there, you know, and you trust it. You absolutely like. So when I talk about it in terms of that, I'm very confident now to say this is what I experienced, because you can never prove this to anybody.
that's a big fact.
And it's great. What I say is like most of the doubters are the people, though, that number one have never had the experience. I'm not saying you can't criticize it without having done it, but to have not having the experience and not even having the benefit of your own opinion of that experience, and then basically just trashing it in advance, it just seems not a strong argument. But here's the other thing. I say to people, it doesn't matter what I could prove to you. Is if you're a seeker and you're open to it and you do it, look at the benefits. And that's it. The benefits that people get from these experiences are 100% real, and
That is
they're
100% fact.
so positive and in so many different ways. And the president just signed an executive order on Saturday, fast tracking psychedelic research, due in large part to veterans suffering from
Yeah,
depression, PTSD, and everything. And by the way, in my retreats, like we're holding spots depending on the size, but for veterans to take them for whatever the medicine is. So it's always part of like my program is to give back, help veterans and other people, so that they can have this experience, because at the moment it can be costly,
yeah.
but it
No,
doesn't
you're
have.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's a fact. But what I was also going to say is that another reason why I feel like things like psilocybin, DMT, and other psychedelics are also considered contraband and illegal is because once you start introducing that as a real medicine, like a real solution for things, you'll notice that things like SSRIs, I believe, like antidepressants and all that. There's not going to be a market for that because those medicines, 9 out of 10 times, cure or at least help mitigate those symptoms.
And they can't patent the mushroom.
Yeah,
It is what it is. So they don't want you going out into your own backyard and picking the mushroom, which if it naturally grew there, then would be illegal for you to possess. You make DMT in your body, but it's illegal to possess. That to me, as an attorney on one level, from
yeah,
the constitutional standpoint, and as an American, like, we have a constitutional right to our consciousness. Our consciousness is the way we want to observe that should be a constitutionally recognized thing. And any sacrament that we would use in our adult informed choice to use in the observation of that, um, whether it's religion or however you want to characterize your observance, or just consciousness, you should be able to use. And the fact that we make it in our body, to me, just it stings, because I just cannot, I can't fathom just acquiescing continually to this control. And so, we need to get the message out to enough people, and it is working, and it's time. So, and it's going in our favor. So, it's not the uphill battle that it once was, but we got to keep pushing it.
yeah. But I completely agree with you. Is that right now? Is that we're seeing a shift where more people want the truth, more people want connectivity, and you can see it. Like, you can see the strain in, like, especially in social media, because my algorithm is all over the place. It's like I get, like, besides, like, of course, the hypersexualization of things, I get like all these different things that are like, this group that, this group this, down bad, these people are bad, these people are this, and I'm like, why is this being pushed by algorithms? And I don't look up none of this shit. Like, I usually look up music, outer conscious, other, like ancient wisdom, out of body consciousness, things of that nature. You know what I mean? But when I scroll, I'm just like seeing all this craziness, and I'm like, it's crazy how the algorithm is programmed to, like, make sure that you get your little daily dose of hatred and negativity, so that way that's instilled in you, and it's messed up that we're actually being programmed that way instead of
Yeah.
coming together.
Yeah. These psychedelics are like the ultimate deprogrammer. Like, it was
Yeah,
described as, one of the researchers, I think, said it was like, when you ski, down these a mountain, and it's time after time, you start to make grooves in the mountain, in the snow. And it's like, that's kind of our thinking gets locked into certain patterns that over time become fixed, in part, like, due to this, like, physical nature of the neuroplasticity of our brain. Like, we just kind of create these neural pathways, and we start associating a cause and effect, and it becomes natural to the point where we basically like hardwire it into ourselves. And it's very hard to change that once we lay those things down. But that psychedelics have this ability to lay fresh snow, fill it
true.
all in. That's those are their words. And I think that's maybe what's going on, and why they're all having all the success in all these mental health conditions. But like, we could also talk about the beauty that it does for people that don't suffer from certain conditions, that we can
Yeah,
all benefit from them. And I'm not suggesting that everybody do it, but let me ask you something. What was your
yeah.
takeaway of time after this mushroom experience?
That time is only a perception of us. Like, time is only perceived. Like, time really does not really exist, and it's not linear. It's stacked on top of each other in layers. And the craziest thing about that, and I made that realization once I was able to see sound, and I was able to see a person's life pass before my eyes.
Wow.
I was just like,
I
I was like,
never saw
okay,
it
so
like that, by the way. Go ahead.
yeah, and the craziest thing about it is, like, I first noticed that happening when we were playing some music, we were playing some Afro house, So you know that's all super rhythmic. I was looking at my dog, and then I saw him from a puppy to like a skeleton, and it kept repeating and repeating, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
and I'm like,
oh,
oh shit. So I kind of like broke that like kind of like stuckness there, and
yeah.
I started looking around the room, and then yet again it happened with my cousin, it happened with my best friend, and I'm like, oh shit, time is not what we think it is. Like
Wow.
time is just stacked on top of each other. I'm literally seeing your whole life in front of my eyes, but it was weird because it wasn't like phases; it was just happening simultaneously.
It's trippy. It's
Yeah,
really trippy. And
trippy.
like you can get like scared. Like I'm often like when I go into one of these experiences, like DMT, if you hit it, it comes on in 10 seconds, right? Like
Yeah,
it starts in 10 seconds. And like, so you know what's coming, but it's because you know what's coming that you have certain fear and it's natural. Like a couple of like the OGs were talking about, like if you're not like shaking, when you have the pipe in your hand, something's wrong with you because it's like, you're about to blast off, and it's a threatening feeling to the ego.
yeah,
So, but it's like, a little practice with it over time, um, you kind of start to try to get over it. Oh, but we never got to your first question, which was, do people get banned?
yeah. Like I've been
Okay,
seeing that going around too. Like
okay,
a lot of people have been smoking like DMT. Like they say, like
right,
after a while of like abusing it, like the
yes,
entities will be like, "Get the fuck out of here. We're not.
yes.
You're not allowed."
Yes, and I know a guy, and I have a personal story about that. So, so when we talked about that in the beginning, which is this is what you, not from ayahuasca, but if people are just abusing DMT, you see. So
Mm,
here's where you go. Like your DMT is synthesized now, but you're not taking it the natural way in the plant. You're taking it via this, chemical process, a
yeah,
lab, right? In a lab. Is something wrong with that? I'm not saying anything, but it basically it's allowing you to get to a place where you don't have total control of it, and there's other people, other things out there that are in control, and so there's a number of stories now where people are saying, yes, I like did it too many times, or I didn't have a proper intention, and frequency can be abuse. Like I
yeah,
can go like a year without it because it's such a dramatic experience that it's like, so I'm very respectful of it. And
yeah,
so there are levels of it too. Like the vape can be difficult to break through fully just because of the delivery system. You just can't get enough on board. You can, and certain people you can, but you got to really go at it hard. Like if you can take 3 hits, and if you can take 3 hits, that means you're already under after the second hit. So you're
yeah,
trying to get a lot done while you can't even see in front of your face anymore. Like you're here, but you're not here. You start to really like, and then you're trying to hold this and hold it in, so it takes a lot to break through. Whereas like the powder, the crystalline, you're basically freebasing it, right? And
yeah,
it's it's 10 seconds and gone. And if it goes fast enough, you don't kind of experience it, you're like out. But if it's a little slower, you start to want to hold on, because but anyway, people that are abusing it are saying they're coming into contact with entities that are saying like, fuck you, get out, like, no, you don't belong here, that's it, don't come back. And then people will
yeah.
say they try to hit it like hard, and as much as you take, nothing happens. That
That's the
is like,
crazy. That's crazy shit.
so there's a woman on TikTok that I is on my feed. She's a PhD candidate writing a
Mm,
thesis, and her theory is that whatever DMT is, it just happens within the brain. Essentially, like the consciousness, I guess, is in the brain. And so I said to her, "How do you explain this situation where people are getting banned and that DMT has no more physical effect on them?" And she's
yeah,
like, "Oh,
bro.
really? I haven't heard about this." So I said, "Listen, it's been widely reported. Look into it." And so I introduced someone to DMT. I'm much more careful about how I do that today, but
Mm.
he was interested in it. Truthfully, it was funny because he was able to get it. And they say if you're looking for DMT, it will find you. So he tries it. He has this really great experience, and then he goes to Vegas to like a EMD, like a the electric whatever
Oh,
concert,
EDC.
EDM, right?
Yeah, EDC. Yeah.
Yeah, in Vegas, right? And lo and
Ooh,
behold,
fire.
he meets some dude from Phoenix, and he's like, "Yeah, DMT, yeah, I make it." He's like, "Dude, you're getting in my car." He drives this dude back from Vegas anyway. He gets a whole bunch of it. So, like, and I didn't know how to get it. So anyway, he's like, "Keep your eyes open." I'm like, "This is not an eyes open thing." But he's like he's just doing it in his car with loud music, like crazy, like, and like he's
Nah.
not doing it the right way. He doesn't understand what it is. It is having a dramatic effect, but he's not getting what the effect should be. And anyway, after a while, he calls me and he's like, something happened. He's like, I put that thing down. He's like, something happened that was no good. And he wasn't very descriptive about what he was, but he's like, they told me not to come back here. And
Yeah.
so I don't go back there now. And I think that's good advice. Although I have heard of somebody who was allowed back in,
Oh, really?
you
That's
know.
pretty cool. That's
So
pretty
if you
dope.
maybe like, pay your respects and, you know, develop respect for it, maybe, I don't know.
But that also comes to show you that like things of that nature is connected to a higher plane than what we think it is. Because if you're taking a substance, right, if that's like if you drink a bottle of Jack Daniels and you don't get drunk, like Jack Daniels told you, nah, that's it, you're off the
Right.
buzz.
Right.
You're gonna be like, what? And you're gonna keep pounding back the bottle. You're gonna be like, okay, this is weird. But it makes sense that if it's something natural or something synthesized from like a natural compound that we all produce, that once you enter that realm,
Well, I
they'll tell
think what it
you,
is that it's the debate, right? Is that
yeah,
where does consciousness reside? The people that think, look, when you die, and everything you are, your memories, everything, all that is gone down to the dust. And the other part of that debate, which I obviously subscribe to, is first of all, you never die, and
yeah,
that your consciousness lives and exists, and it comes out of your body when your body is gone, one way or the other. But that's the debate. And so, I think that's what we're going to come to realize is that debate will be solved where we'll understand that there is something more out there. And that was my first real smoked DMT experience. So not a
yeah.
vape, but a real heavy. And I was assisted with it. And then I immediately left my body and I went to a place where I was saying to myself that this is heaven because I felt this unbounded love just all around, and I felt like a baby, a newborn baby, just that feels love from its mother, and that it's ecstasy, that there's nothing, there's no doubt, there's no fear. It's just pure love on this love vibration. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, this is amazing. Number one, I have to tell people about this place because like I've never experienced a kind of peace, in my life. And at the same time I'm thinking, but I feel like this place is familiar again. Like, what is this? Like, I kind of remember this place. And that's why I say it's like a lot of the things that happen, you say, like, I learned this and I learned that. But the learning is, I think, like a way of remembering. Like
I
we're
got
we're,
you,
we're
man.
reclaiming like stuff that we know maybe at the soul level, past lives. I don't know, but like there's a definite feeling that I know this already, and I don't know how I know it, which is kind of bugging me out because it's so familiar. And then it's like I want to stay here because I remember it. I come from here, and I do not want to go back. I remember feeling like I don't want to come back here. Um, you know, and then I'm
Nah,
like,
I get that, man.
I have to tell people, and then like some voice like says to me, but I'm not hearing it. which you can understand, just is like, you can't, there's nothing to tell. You just have to, this is for you. You have to experience this.
No, is
And
that's absolutely true because
sit
it's
back
like
and like,
relax and just enjoy it. But that's the thing about it. Like when people have these experiences, it kind of like ties in all the spiritual stuff and ties in like reincarnation, different planes of existence and how, we're at like this third or bottom plane and like we're not perceiving the higher planes because we haven't like learned how to vibrate in love constantly.
it's love. You
Yeah.
said it. You said it right there. That the only thing that is real, when I said in the first that nothing is real, is love. Love is real, and it's really the only thing.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
And
but
I truly feel that, maybe I'm wrong about this, and roomies, put in the comments if you think I'm wrong. But I think, even though everybody has their own individual soul, I do feel that we're all part of one consciousness experiencing itself. You know what I mean? So if it's one big consciousness experiencing itself, why wouldn't it love itself? And why wouldn't love be the highest emotion that you would have towards yourself?
right,
Right?
absolutely right. And then specifically in what you said is, things that's something important to me is self love,
Yeah.
because we're so hard on ourselves that we can love other people and sometimes really can be our own worst enemy sometimes. And that's something you learn in plant medicine too, which is you deserve your love too. And when you do something good, sometimes I even like visit, I just go, good job today. You've got to love yourself, and be okay with the fact that we're not perfect and we screw things up, and all of it. Like, as long as we realize it and we try to get better, if you try to be a better person, you try to put out a little more of this love, like that's it. Like, don't complicate it too much. That's all we're really here to do. Everything else is kind of just, it's the distraction, but the distraction is fun too.
Yeah. The
Like,
distraction could be cool.
I'm not saying like not to have fun. Like, I love this life. This life, this physical life is a dream. It's
No,
like,
it
I say
is.
it's a vacation for the soul, because the soul is timeless, right? It's
Yeah.
infinite. And here we're boxed up in this little world, and we're all caught up and we go to work and all this stuff. But within it is a lot of fun shit too, and a lot of hard shit, and a lot of pain, and a lot of love. And you get to feel all these different extremes. And there sometimes can be painful going through extremes. But I think that's all, at the end of the day, it's part of the human experience. And if you're on your last moments, would you rather look back and say, I didn't have any low points, man, I didn't have any of that horrible stuff, I also didn't have any of the great stuff, and I was just basically coasted along and coasted along, and
No,
finally I got to be 90, and then I'm gone.
no,
When you
that's
look
what
back,
makes it.
what would you rather have?
No, you have to have your highs and your lows. That's what makes life exciting and that's what makes you appreciate everything and make you love it. It makes you, a loving person because you can have everything taken away from you, right? But that one person gives you that hand to help you back up. Now that you springboarded a million times because of the fact that one person said, "Hey, bro, I got you. Come on, let's do this." You know what I mean?
So
And
right.
and that's what makes you experience. Like, for instance, and this is probably the worst example I could come up with, right? But let's say you and your girlfriend, wife, whatever, and I'm not particularly saying you. It's an example. Are arguing and y'all about to break up, but then y'all find the love and rekindle everything. That's amazing because now you have so much appreciation for that person again. You know what I mean?
Listen, the thing that brought me to ayahuasca, because I had never done a psychedelic before I did ayahuasca 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. So, and if you look at me, I don't know, a lot of people might be like, oh, that dude does ayahuasca. That's a surprise. Oh, he's this lawyer from New York. He was a trial attorney, like, and now he's doing ayahuasca. What happened? So, but what happened is, uh, the short story of what happened is, I had a big business. I ended up getting sued for $79 million by the government.
Ooh,
and they they I ended up, the case was dismissed 6 years later. Okay, but I was destroyed. Like
Yeah.
they destroyed me in every way possible over 6 years. And then when I was, basically just a heartbeat, like, and that's it. Like I was a heartbeat from death. They dismissed the case. And they took all my money, my assets, this, and then I got everything back. But like I was destroyed in the 6 years.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I ended up, I didn't have to, pay one penny, nothing like, right. But I was destroyed. And I hated these people. I hated them. And the hate overtook me,
Yeah.
and the anger. And when my friends approached me, and again, like, is that a coincidence? I don't think so. But they're like, have you ever heard of this thing ayahuasca? We look into it. And then over like some time, we set a date, we go down, and I went to the desert in Tucson, and off grid. And we're in like a makeshift, at that time it was like a makeshift structure with like a kind of like a gas thing and a torch in there, and like 15, like in the middle of a zero, and like it's a GPS coordinate. And then
Shit.
15 people were going to do ayahuasca, and then with like 5 facilitators and the head shaman.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking this ayahuasca, and then people here, you have they call it like the purge. And then I don't, in Spanish, how do you know how to say it in Spanish, the purge?
Nah, I'm gonna be
It's like
honest with you.
like when you throw up, like when you,
O cuando
it's,
tú vomitas.
but it's more like, it's called the purge because you're getting rid of like poison, like
Yeah.
soul poison. And also it's very important to say here that like our physical body is a representation of what we are thinking. Like we are creating our own illnesses. People, obviously, if you're under a lot of stress, you can get sick, your body will react. So that's not a big deal for people to process, but it's way, way deeper than that. Our body is a manifestation of this consciousness. And so when you purge, you're getting rid of it. Sometimes you're throwing up and they give you a bucket. Other times you got to go to the bathroom and it's coming out from there. And sometimes both.
Yeah.
And you don't know, right? And so it's a very physical experience, ayahuasca. So so when we were talking about, oh, you smoke DMT for 10 minutes, when you do ayahuasca, you're sitting down with the grandmother. There, you take your drink, you drink, you go back, and you wait, and there's no turning back. Like at that point, there's no way but through. You got to
Yeah.
go, right? And so there's a commitment to that, and that's part of ayahuasca, which is, okay, listen, I'm submitting to this because I want to learn, I want wisdom, I want to improve, right? I want to rid myself of this traumas, a lot of different things that people come to it. And I came to it with this anger, and I was able to see these people, and like it's like a vision, and I'm like head to head with them, like really close. And I immediately felt their pain. I immediately felt why they were involved in this case that was,
Yeah.
say, of course, unjustly brought against me. Um, and what's going on in their lives. But I realized that they're suffering too. And I felt compassion for them, for the pain that they were going through. And for the first time, I wasn't being defensive about my own anger. I was concerned for the people that I had hated.
Yeah.
And now I'm saying, you know what? I'm sorry for your pain. I realize the pain. I realize why you do some of the things you do because of this pain. And I feel this, sympathy for you. And then this anger in me, I said, I don't have to carry anymore. And I realized at that moment that I'm carrying it myself, and I'm choosing to carry it. And now I can choose not to carry it. And life is a lot lighter without it.
Yep.
And that was my first ayahuasca.
No, but don't you find it interesting how nature and the universe provides you with a medicine that's gonna help you, kind of shed all the emotional and like spiritual weight. Mind you, like you said it perfectly earlier, our bodies are a manifestation of our consciousness. Disease comes from being diseased. You know what I mean? And science now is proving that, that our emotional state, our spiritual state affects our physical state. So it's just funny how Mother Nature is providing us like, hey, cool, you've been through all this trauma, you got PTSD, you're kind of mentally a screw or two loose. Take this, we're gonna tighten them screws back up, and I'm gonna show you that.
Yeah.
It's not necessary for you to carry around all this hatred, all this anger, all this depression, because life is beautiful.
Yes. I couldn't say it better. Life is beautiful even when it's hard, and I
Yeah.
make a point of that. But like, the other thing is like I get down on myself too. Like sometimes I watch the content that I make and I'm like, I don't know who this guy's talking to. Like, this is some hard shit going on over here. And it's like, it's true. It doesn't like the problems don't go away, right? It's like the same like shit continues to happen because this is life. Can you get through it with a little more grace? Can you handle the problems better than you used to? Like, like I try to stop reacting the same ways that I always used to and try to just be better about it. Make a choice, like stop yourself in the middle and say, boom, I'm a new person. I can make a different choice. And now I feel better because I knew I was doing something wrong and I feel better that I've corrected it. And I don't have any shame that I did it wrong. I feel good that I can improve myself. And if I can improve my relationships and just be an overall little better person and get up every day a little chai, that's it. Then like that's the only point. And then like we're there. Like that's what psychedelics simply like can provide. But people meditate. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to do psychedelics. It's just a very sure way to get, to really kind of figure out some things quickly. But again, you have like Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you.
True.
Literally, it is within you. Like
True.
that part, like in my mind, was not metaphorical. So you can, now we're getting back to DMT and how we make it. You can do breath work where you can do these like Wim Hof and other type of like
Yeah.
techniques, but it's a lot of breathing, and you start pushing up this spinal fluid into your brain,
Brain.
to the pineal gland. And I'll tell you that the first time I did DMT, it burst open my third eye. I literally felt it right here, boom, 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 like a banging,
Yeah.
like felt it, like pumping or tapping, like right in the middle of my head. For like a half an hour afterwards, I'm on the car home and I still feel this boom, 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 boom. And so you can as you get that fluid going, you can stimulate the pineal gland and you can create, not saying the most intense, but like you're creating these DMT like effects and you are getting into a deep meditative state. And people have had outer body experiences from that. So this consciousness stuff is not just, of course, limited to hallucinogenic drugs. Like
No.
they're just a piece of it. But obviously, people are attacking, they're experiencing it in other ways. NDEs, near death experiences, people will say a lot of the similar stuff.
Yeah.
So
And then the craziest thing about it is that a lot of the things are very connected. It's very similar, and you know what? And just piggybacking off of what you were saying, a lot of people could activate their third eye, could activate their kundalini, which is the spine thing. I
yeah,
believe it is. And correct me if I'm wrong, please.
yeah,
But once you open up that third eye and you actually start seeing things through that lens, and you start seeing that your perception kind of makes life a little better, because you could have a person with the perception of negativity and a person with perception of positivity, and you could give them the same situation, same outcomes. The person with the positive perception on the situation may see may see more opportunity to grow within it than the person that has a negative perception. And this is where kind of psychedelics come into play. Is like they're not gonna cure you of it, but they're gonna kind of like put you on the right track. They're gonna be like, hey there, buddy, like you're missing the mark a little bit, let's correct it. here you go. Here's a little, crash course. And hopefully when you come out of this, you'll continue down the course of healing
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Totally right.
Yeah, man.
Totally right. And just to like say that, again about like what is it about the psychedelics? It's not the psychedelic. It's what it does to the consciousness. So, well, like a very simple experiment was they took like these optimists and pessimists. They were self-described. Like I don't remember the exact study, but basically you would go through this book and the optimists or some of the people would see like they would get to page like 3 of a big book, and it would say is if you're seeing this, stop right here. No need to go further. You're done the test. And then other people would go through the whole book. And it turned out that these optimists in large numbers disproportionately stopped early on because they had seen page 3, and the pessimists didn't even see it. So this is not psychedelics. This is a real world effect of people that are positive and negative and what they actually see. So you don't have to do any drugs to see that that's a very important difference, that positive people are seeing more maybe opportunity, right? Their field of vision is a little greater. And is that a physical thing or is that a consciousness thing? It's a fair question, but clearly there's a demonstrable effect between the difference between positive and negative people.
Yeah. And, unfortunately in today's society, a lot of people want to stay in that negative space.
Sure.
But like I said earlier, there's been this great shift where everybody now wants to explore their consciousness. They want to be more positive. They want to have, a good outlook in life. But yet again, the powers that be constantly beat us with negativity and bullshit. And it's funny how susceptible we are, really, until you kind of like learn how to say, you know what, I think I could kind of like know the difference between the two and not get caught up in that wave.
Yeah, it's difficult. If you watch the news and as you scroll, you said so. What I have learned is the best way to not have our message of positivity and love deteriorate is not to get caught up in the negativity. So I'm not trying to to take out the darkness. That I think is a losing effort. And if there are negative things going on, I don't want to combat that. It's a waste of energy. And it may seem passive, but I think the better approach is to shine your light where you shine it to those people that are accepting of it. And overall, that's a more effective strategy than trying to, combat the darkness. The way you do that is shine more light.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot more light, I think, than the dark. But like everything, we need the darkness too. There's a whole balance to the whole thing, and and there's a time for everything. And finally, we're rebalancing, and I think we're in difficult times because I think on the other side of this is going to be something really good. And maybe that coincides with the alien disclosure that people are anticipating. I don't know, but the phenomenon is very interesting.
And all I'm saying is that I do think that with alien disclosure, and this ties into a lot of current events, like with the current NASA scientists that just went missing, the 11 scientists that have like mysteriously like gone missing or like off themselves the last couple of years. I think is extremely weird because they were all working on like anti-gravity technology and all these other things. And with the current rise in UAP, I truly feel that there is a shift in consciousness in human society, but I still think that most extraterrestrial beings look at Earth and be like, all right, cool, that's the ghetto planet, don't go over there.
I mean, listen,
some of them are like, we're gonna help them out, but like the majority is like, they're still the ghetto planet, let's give them a couple of more 100 years, then we'll see what's up with them.
Or maybe a couple 100 million years, who knows?
If we could get that long.
Right. So, but I think they are here to help us along. Whatever it is, I don't think there's nothing to fear. But listen, for the first time in ever, you're hearing an open Congress testimony of not only these whistleblowers, but people in high level government positions that are now saying we have been visited by, we don't know what they are, but other intelligence, non-human advanced intelligence. They're saying it explicitly. I can't get why people aren't freaked out more about it, or just consumed with it more. Like, I feel like people are just like, oh, I don't know, whatever, I still got to go to my job. But like, the evidence is clear, and they're telling you that we have recovered people, entities, like beings, as well as craft, like their
Yeah.
spaceships or whatever. Like, they're openly saying that, and then they follow up to ask real specific questions, and they say, "Well, I can't talk about that in open session, so like it's classified." I mean, but they're telling you basically. And now
Yeah.
this guy from North Carolina, what's his name? He's like, you need to see what I've seen. It's all classified. I'm not allowed to say it, but you would not be sleeping at night if you knew what I see. Not to be afraid necessarily, but the immensity of what this is, of what we already know that they're not telling us. I mean,
But that's
I'm furious that I'm not being told.
the thing about it, David. We've all right. In my lifetime, and I'm 36 now. Since a child, I've always knew that aliens were around. It wasn't like it wasn't in our society. Like, we had movies about it, shows about it.
Interesting,
Everybody
right?
obsessed about extraterrestrials, and it's not something that even my mother, who's like a devoted Catholic, I asked her the other day. I was like, "Ma, if aliens were to come down to Earth, would you be surprised?" She'll be like, "Not really. Like it's a vast universe. There better be something else besides us, because if it's only us, shit is fucked." But
Right,
you know,
right.
but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the thing that truly gets it going is that with social media, the way the internet is working, is that I could see a UFO today, or I could run into an extraterrestrial, take a picture, do a video, and tomorrow half of the world will see it, and they will be like, "Yeah, we know that aliens are real. They just need to come down and vibe with us and actually like interact." But yet again, we don't know what kind of policies there is between them and the government, or however things work.
I mean, of course, now you can get into real conspiracy theory about, are there government, like, are there agreements? And there is a lot of reference to past agreements where we get technology in exchange for letting them do experiments. I mean, that stuff. Who knows? Uh, I mean, it is really interesting. Skinwalker Ranch. There are places, in the U.S. and around the world. Egypt obviously is
Yeah,
fascinating, and I've seen Egypt in a number of psychedelic journeys. I've never
yeah.
been there, but I've like flown over the pyramids, like on a mushroom trip. And why does Egypt feature heavily in a lot of people's experiences with various psychedelics? I've
Um,
also encountered the ancient Egyptian god Thoth.
yes.
Like the man with the ibis, like
Yeah,
bird.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I've been in a laboratory with him,
You know what's
and
great? The craziest
so
thing about it is that when on my mushroom trip, I looked over my shoulder and Thoth was standing there.
are you kidding me?
Nah. All right. So just to give you a little bit more insight, so the entities I saw were all, how can I say it? They were all deities
Right,
and
right,
like saintly figures from different cultures. Even if I didn't know who it was, right? Like, I
right,
looked over my shoulder, I saw Thoth. On the other side, I saw my aunt who passed away.
right.
When I looked at my cousin, I saw Edgar Allan Poe and I saw Ganesh.
Really?
Yeah. And what I realized at that moment is that those beings were depicting a certain trait of your soul. You
Huh.
feel me? Like, I think that the connection between me and Thoth is for, because I like to learn, and he was the god of knowledge and whatnot. I think so that was my connection to him.
Right.
So because I always say that if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm not in the right room to be in.
Good for you. That's good.
You know what I mean? So I truly think that with like Thoth and all those entities, they were real, and they came down, they hooked people up, and they did what they had to do.
So yeah, I mean, what was so puzzling to me was I'm in this like laboratory, which is as modern as a laboratory could be, but there's this ancient figure in there, cloak on with, and it's a man with this bird head, and I didn't even know it was Thoth at that. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't put that together yet. Um, but seeing this ancient figure who's in this modern environment, and then doing lab stuff, potion stuff, taking notes, and like he knows I'm there, but not paying any attention to me. And there's no interaction. It's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're seeing the same thing is also,
It's
what does that
mind
say?
blowing. Nah, but yet again, I do feel that humans, at the level that we're at, we're not seeing the universe for all it is.
No.
Nah, not through these two eyes. Maybe through the third eye, we'll get a glimpse. But yet again, we're not seeing everything that the universe definitely has to offer.
And you also saw the music you were saying?
No, yes, I saw sound. Like I saw the sound waves. So I
Okay,
saw like I saw the frequency patterns and all that.
you could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had that experience either, but that's common.
That goddamn penis on me had me
That's
rolling.
kind wow. And
No, but
I don't know. I mean, yeah, and it's not to say like I couldn't have that type of experience. I think some people like, tend to have certain types of experiences and others like others. Sometimes like, you might be one of those people that are very sensitive. I know it's a major dose, of course,
yeah.
but still like maybe experience things in a very deep way, visually, sensorily, like you're seeing the music, you're seeing these like angelic beings, and people are just different.
No, but
you know
I also believe it depends on what's your mind state at and how you go into it.
for
Because
sure.
I really didn't go into it with a sense of, oh, I'm stressed out. I didn't have any feeling. Like I was kind of neutral going into it.
Okay.
So I think that neutrality kind of like helped me like maybe tap into something. Maybe, who knows?
Was that the first time?
No. That was like
Okay.
my that was like my I would say about fifth, sixth time.
Okay. So like, because then you were familiar, and maybe
Yeah,
like it wasn't, because like, when it starts to come on like that the first time you're having like a real heavy like trip,
yeah. You'll be
it's
like, wow.
scary, right? You're like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because you could
yeah,
feel it in your stomach, you feel kind of nauseous and all this other stuff. So it does kind of like scare you out because of the fact that you are going to be hallucinating, you are going to see
yeah,
some shit, and you're not ready for that. But
yeah,
once you do it a couple of times and then you go into it like kind of like baseline
yeah,
and just ride that wave, I feel like you can actually tap into something higher than yourself and kind of like figure things out about the universe that
for sure.
you're kind of like subconsciously questioning.
Yeah. You know what I've done lately, with the mushrooms, because I have this such a, like a heavy like a respect for the mushrooms, but they can get dark on me. Like,
Yeah.
and so like, and then I get into this thought loop of like I'm afraid that I'm going to get afraid, and now I'm afraid, but what's been really cool is if you do um the hippie flip and start with MDMA, ecstasy.
Mhm. I never tried it like that.
Dude, so people don't also realize that with a heavier dose, you will experience similar psychedelic like journey on Molly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like people are. I mean, that's why MDMA is having such profound effects in the clinical trials too for depression and everything. Like people like it's really having great effect from phenomenal. But the thing that is so interesting to me is that it's so positive. Usually, it's
Yeah.
just like exploding love. And then it's like, you're not like, I'm not worried about anything because I know it's going to be just unbelievable. And then now I'm totally relaxed. And so like after you have that for a little bit, maybe like a couple of hours, then I like, give me those mushrooms. And I'm like, you know, because I'm like, I'm in such a great space. So, and it's a totally safe experience. And like the last time, like I took like probably 5 grams of mushrooms on top of that, and then smoked DMT at the end.
God damn.
I'm
My
telling
boy,
you, over
my boy,
hours.
my boy here had a day.
It was a night. Let's say it was a night.
That was a hell of a night. I'm gonna tell you that one, boy.
Listen, I did a video on it because it was so unbelievable.
I believe it, man.
And I just experienced 5-MeO DMT, which is a different substance altogether. That's the toad. Like when
Okay.
you hear, like with Tyson, you hear a lot of guys talk about the toad.
Yeah.
It comes from the Sonoran desert toad, but obviously it's synthesized also now, mostly. So you don't have to actually go out and find a toad. But or like bufo, like that's what it's called. And so yeah, which is a different substance than the other DMT. Way different.
So are like the experiences like similar or totally
No, we're
different?
like the DMT that we're talking about in ayahuasca and that you're typically smoking is NN-DMT.
Yeah.
5-MeO, the difference in the experience is that it's not the visual experience. It's more like you are kind of like going through like a death almost is what people typically describe it as. And so it's like you're just gone, like in a white light, or you're dissolved. And then kind of you come back. I had a really different, I don't have that much experience yet with 5-MeO. But my experience was a little bit not, it was somewhat crossover between
Yeah.
that and the regular DMT. So I don't know enough to really talk about it that well yet. So I'm learning.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get my first. I don't know. And just going back to ayahuasca real quick, like you said that when you're looking for DMT or when you're looking for ayahuasca, it usually finds you, right?
Yeah.
But I've been looking for DMT and ayahuasca for years, but I also feel that you have to have a need for it. At least the first time.
Of course.
The first time, I feel that if you don't have like a real need for it, or like you're kind of like on a stable path,
Yeah.
it won't find you as easily as like if you really need it, like you have PTSD or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about a couple, like a number of different things that, like, as you're talking, I'm like, my mind is going bing, 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 because you have to feel the calling. Number one,
Yeah.
yes, I do feel the calling for myself now. I haven't done it in about 5 years. Ayahuasca.
Like the calling for me for ayahuasca is getting more intense now, just because I'm like at a pivoting point in life.
That's what it is, and you'll
Yeah.
know when she calls you, she's going to call you, and that's it. And that's why I said it's been years since my last one, and now I'm called again. So this is not like a how many times did you do it kind of thing. But if you feel called, it's all over now. You have to find the right people, the right shaman, right, someone who's trained. But like it's all over the US, like, and for not a lot of money, or not far from you, if something's not extremely local. But I'm telling you, if you look, you can get on message, you can go on Facebook, and people are talking about it and sharing information. Like I did it in Phoenix, and like there are a few options in Phoenix, just as an example. Now it's not a small city, right? But it's all over.
No, like I was talking to my cousin who is like a couple of months younger than me or whatever, and I was telling her, I was like, yo, yeah, I'm trying to get my hands on some DMT. She's like, really? I have a friend who's a shaman and he has, and whenever you want, just come down to Philly and we'll do it. I'm like, you made it sound so simple. It made it sound so fucking simple. Like it's just like that.
That's Philly. I'm from Philly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm from Uptown Manhattan.
Okay. So I went from Philly, and then I did college, law school. I worked in New York. I went to NYU. and then I met my wife in college, and then we got married after college, and then we went to law school. She went to law school too. She was a
Ooh.
prosecutor in the Brooklyn DA's office, and then yeah, so and then I lived and moved out of the city after 9/11.
Yeah. The I'm gonna tell you this: the city right now, the way the city is, man, it's sad. It's real sad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's real sad. Like all my time living here, I can honestly say this is probably the worst it's probably been,
yeah,
and or at least like the way inflation's been hitting, the way the government's running the city and all this other shit. It's it's going to shit.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's sad. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I love New York, and there's nothing like it. There's just
No,
nothing like
like,
it. But
but I don't know. People need to come in here, regulate it, and start, setting a price because the way everything is, like, everybody's gonna get priced out pretty soon.
and money is leaving New York, which like big money is leaving,
Yeah.
going to further put pressure on the tax base. Listen, I mean, Mamdani, I I just don't listen. This is what the
Listen,
people voted for, so this is an experiment in real time, and you're going to know pretty soon if it was a big mistake.
well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Just like the presidential elections, I didn't have a horse in this race, so I didn't even bother with it. Like, because I already know it's like if you're not gonna put certain things first, like people's safety, education, and making sure that price you kind of like regulate like how high pricing could go, especially with like the living situation in New York. You're not gonna get good outcomes because right now people are wild out here, like really wild. Like this morning, I think they found a MTA bus on milk crates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when have you ever heard of an MTA bus getting their wheels stolen?
Yeah, and then, like I've seen people like on these videos and they're just going into stores and they're just saying like, I don't really have a choice, like I'm taking it. And at a certain point, I mean, it's so hard for people, I get it. And I understand that like if you're a business owner, that's horrible too. I mean, it's dangerous. And the relationship with the police in New York has been fractured for a long time.
Yeah,
you know.
but the police force hasn't. I can honestly say for the last couple of years, the police force hasn't really been doing anything.
Yeah.
Like unless it's like something super major, but like on like a ground level, like making sure like communities are safe and all this other stuff, they're not really doing much because they're never around when they're actually needed. They're never around for it, and when they're not needed, that's when they want to pop out. So it's like,
Well, so after like living in it, all gun controlled locations essentially,
yeah,
and New York especially, I come to Phoenix 20 years ago, and I was always interested in firearms though, and I became obsessed with guns, and it's such a gun friendly state where you can buy, sell, trade. Like I can go to Circle K up the street and legally sell a dude a gun.
yeah, yeah. New York, unfortunately, it feels like everybody has a gun in New York. Right?
Does it? Because I
Yeah,
think if they did, like
especially
people are so
especially
worried about.
especially especially like the younger teens. Yeah, you would never know if they packing,
Well,
and
you never know, right?
yeah,
Right, which is why. So, what ends up happening though is it's like, oh, we can't have guns here. You got plenty of guns, but none of the law-abiding people have guns. Like it's actually, and to people that I know that grow up in it, it's like I don't want people walking around freely. You don't need a permit to carry a gun. Let me tell you something. They're doing it anyway, right?
hmm,
The only people that aren't are the people that are worried about committing a serious felony and going to mandatory prison in New York.
yep, yep,
So, but like I have more peace of mind. What does that mean? I don't know, but at least I have a chance if I maybe, okay, but I value my life. So that little chance of maybe I'll take it
yep.
and hopefully never have to come across that.
Some of them.
because there's some bad people here, and it might seem like at first that is contrary to all this peace and love that I'm talking about. I'm about the peace and love, but that doesn't mean like I don't want to have a chance to defend myself.
That's a big fact.
And
And
I feel
also,
comfortable that I can.
I've noticed with states that are like, gun friendly, there's less gun violence because of the fact that I think, well, at least this is my psychology towards it. Like, you're less likely to pull out your gun and try to do something to somebody if you know that everybody in that store or everybody in your vicinity also has a gun and would probably pull out on you if you try some wild
Yeah,
shit.
that's number one. The other thing is, like, especially a law abiding person, if you take out a gun improperly, it's a serious felony.
Yeah.
You may be going to prison. If you're threatening people with it, like you have to, it's such a responsibility. Sometimes I think like I'm worried that I would wait too long because I'm so cautious about it that like I maybe, but again, would I rather have that choice or not? I'd rather have the choice.
Yeah. Having the choice to defend yourself has to, and then on top of that, it's also in our constitutional rights. So,
Well, this is interesting what's going on in New York because you see this government trying to put the monkey wrench into the works of a constitutional carry. So the Supreme Court has spoken. Right now, New York, they have to issue carry permits, but now they make it onerous how to get a permit. Number one.
yeah.
And then the next big thing was they're going to limit the safe spaces where you can't carry, which is basically then everywhere. That's a total constitutional violation. What they know is, though, it doesn't really matter if you can just keep, it's like Trump. If you just keep throwing more stuff there, even though you ultimately may lose, you continue to win because you never get the issue resolved. So
No.
we'll just put another thing in place and let that go up to the Supreme Court and take years. And it's a travesty because there is a constitutional right, whether you like it or not. That's what the court has said. And so, it's interesting, but I think New York is going to get it. By the way, in LA, which was as much locked down as New York, I mean California, LA is issuing permits now.
Oh yeah, left and right. But we'll see.
That's
We'll see what happens though. But Dave, before we get up out of here, man, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
What I like to say is kind of a little repeat of what we had talked about, which is we are everlasting souls, and love is the only thing that really does matter. And that when you go about your day, try to live a little bit more like you're in two places, like you're your everyday body, but realize you're also a soul. And if one of these experiences can just, and you don't have to, be committed to it or do it many times, but if you could just even have one experience where you could understand that you are this phenomenal God created divine being and that life is here for you and not just things happening to you, and that you are very much a co-creator of your experience. Not all of it, but you can influence it a lot more than you think, and you can bring happiness to yourself and other people. And that's the message that I'm trying to get out.
I feel you, and that was beautiful.
Okay.
Roomies, remember, do unto others what you would like to be done to yourself. And if you ever come across an alien, pass them a joint. They'll probably appreciate you for it. Peace out.